The lawsuit over Trump University is settled. Lawyers for the president-elect agree to pay millions to students who say they were defrauded. Under Proposition 64, Californians can grow 6 pot plants, but the city of San Diego is looking to regulate where residents can grow them. And a new report quantifies how trees can save lives. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. This afternoon, the plaintiffs in the Trump University case reached a $25 million settlement. That means President-elect Donald Trump will not have to come to San Diego for the civil trial. It was scheduled to begin in less than 2 weeks. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh was in the courtroom today and has this report.
We're out in front of the federal building in downtown San Diego, where this afternoon reporters went into the courtroom of Judge Gonzalo Curiel, wondering whether or not there would be a trial that would bring President-elect Donald Trump to San Diego. When they got there, what they found is instead there was a settlement.
It really is a great result. Everybody who was enrolled in this school and who wants their money back will get over half their money back at a minimum, and perhaps up to all of their money back.
That includes more than 6,000 students spread among 3 lawsuits, 2 in California and 1 brought by the Attorney General in New York. They will share $25 million minus the fees and fines paid to New York. The decision to settle was driven by Judge Curiel, who urged the parties to settle to avoid trial. They were negotiating up to an hour prior to Friday's hearing. Inside the court, Curiel said he hoped the trial would be part of the healing process this country sorely needs after the election. On the campaign trail, Trump called out the judge's Mexican heritage. Curiel was born in Indiana of parents of Mexican descent. In the end, Trump attorney David Petrocelli said both the process and the outcome were fair.
That's behind us now, and we're looking forward. I know President Trump is pleased to have this case behind him so that he can focus on the important priorities that are facing the country.
Even with the announcement of the settlement, that doesn't mean the case is quite over yet. Each member of the class action will still have to decide whether or not they support this settlement. There'll at least be one more hearing to discuss this, probably sometime in December. Reporting from the federal building in downtown San Diego, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The Democratic vote that gave Doug Applegate a lead over Congressman Darrell Issa in San Diego is showing up in some North County coastal cities, too. KPBS North County Bureau reporter Allison St. John has a roundup of some election results in North County.
Most of North County's 9 cities are run by councils that are either all or mostly Republican. In recent election cycles, several cities canceled their elections for lack of challengers. But this year, every city had a healthy slate of competing candidates, and there are some new faces. In Carlsbad, for example, the first Democrat anyone can remember is winning a seat on the council. Corey Schumacher is a veteran of the campaign earlier this year to defeat that plan by developer Rick Caruso to build an upscale shopping center on the Agua Hedionda Lagoon. That was Measure A. That campaign has galvanized a new constituency of voters in action in Carlsbad. In the coastal city to the south, Encinitas, voters have elected 3 progressive members to the council, and one of them will become the mayor. Catherine Blakespeare won more than 60% of the vote, easily defeating Republican Paul Gasper. He was the husband of the incumbent mayor, Kristen Gasper. In Escondido, the lone Democrat on the city council, Olga Diaz, kept her seat with more than 60% of the vote, in spite of a strong challenge from a Republican this year. Voters appear to feel it's good to have one lone voice raising questions of the majority at the meetings. But in Vista, the only Democrat on the council, Cody Campbell, lost his seat to Joe Green, a Republican with a strong base of support from his days on the school PTA. We've seen the city of San Diego moving to the left in recent years. The latest voter registration report from the San Diego Registrar of Voters shows 5 North County cities have a majority of Republican registered voters. They are Escondido, Poway, San Marcos, Oceanside, and Carlsbad. In 4 cities, registered Democrats outnumber Republicans. Those cities are Del Mar, Solana Beach, Encinitas, and now Vista. Reporting from the North County Bureau, Allison St. John, KPBS News.
House Republicans have introduced a bill to help California National Guard vets who were ordered to repay big bonuses they got for re-enlisting. The Vet Bonus Act would reimburse veterans who've already made payments and provided financial assistance to those who ran into financial hardships. The Pentagon has already moved to stop the collection of repayments. As the pot industry celebrates the passage of recreational marijuana, California city leaders have to find ways to regulate it. The San Diego City Council is considering putting a temporary ban on growing outdoor marijuana. Supporters of the ban say the city needs time to evaluate the effects of Prop 64 in the community.
Whether you supported 64 or you oppose 64, we want to hear input, because at the end of the day, all the residents are going to have to live with this and understand this.
Under the new Adult Use of Marijuana Act, cities are allowed to add their own regulations, taxes, and bans on marijuana businesses. National City, San Marcos, Santee, and Lemon Grove have already passed bans on recreational marijuana sales. Recreational pot sales in the rest of California will include a sales tax under Prop 64, but medical marijuana users will be exempt from paying that tax. The tax exemption only applies if people buy a special card issued by the state health department. A doctor's note is not enough.
There may be some confusion out there as to who qualifies for the exemption, and there's some misinformation out there that all sales are now exempt, and that's not indeed the case, because you do have to have the plastic card from public health in order to get the sales tax exemption.
The card costs about $100. Sales of recreational pot will begin in January of 2018 statewide. Homelessness among youth is on the rise in San Diego County. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reports the number of unaccompanied people under the age of 25 has climbed 32% over the last year. Nationally, that number decreased by 3%. Also on the rise, the number of people sleeping on the streets in tents, cars, and makeshift shelters. Almost 19% more people are living unsheltered compared to last year. The federal report shows most of the segments of the county's homeless population have seen a decline, including veterans and families. Overall, homelessness in San Diego County remains the fourth largest in the nation. California's lieutenant governor wants state universities to become sanctuary campuses for students who are in the country illegally. He sent letters to the leaders of the UC and CSU system saying the schools must take steps to shield students from federal agencies under a Trump administration. The head of CSU has already said he won't declare those campuses sanctuaries. And California's sanctuary cities are bracing for a legal battle under a Trump administration. The president-elect has vowed to deport millions of people living in the U.S. illegally and has threatened to pull federal funding of sanctuary cities if they choose to violate federal law. Legal experts say the situation is a bit more complex.
In California, there are some relatively strict guidelines about how much or how little state and local law enforcement can cooperate with federal law enforcement officials. There's something called the California Trust Act that limits the ability of local police agencies to give low-level criminal offenders and turn them over to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement authorities.
California has at least a dozen or so so-called sanctuary cities. President-elect Donald Trump has promised extreme vetting for immigrants, but how does this actually work, especially for refugees? NPR correspondent Deb Amos takes a look.
Let's talk about vetting, refugee vetting. It's the process of checking on the background of a refugee. Only 1% of the world's refugees even have a chance of being resettled in about 30 countries. The first interview is with the UN High Commission for Refugees, and it's the UN that determines if you qualify as a refugee, and then focuses on the most vulnerable cases: single women head of households, serious medical cases, torture victims. The UN sends a list of those applicants to the State Department. Then resettlement support centers throughout the Middle East that are contracted by the State Department starts the interviews all over again. They're checking every detail of a refugee story for credibility. Now, there's a pool of refugees who could come to the United States. So these interviews start to become like interrogations. and they are checking databases all over the world and American databases. The Counterterrorism Department is involved in this, Homeland Security, Department of Defense, CIA, FBI. It's including fingerprints. It's including DNA samples. Syrian refugees are flagged for additional screening. When a refugee is finally cleared for resettlement in the United States, all of those databases are checked one more time before they take that flight to the U.S.
California voters this month opened the door to more bilingual instruction in public schools with the passage of Prop 58. Now, KPBS education reporter Megan Burke says the makers of the ACT college entrance exams are catching up with public sentiment.
ACT Incorporated has announced it will offer special accommodations to English language learners beginning next school year. Those include instructions in the student's native language, a word-to-word bilingual glossary, additional time to complete the test, and the option to take it in a separate room. David King is the founder of C2 Education. It helps students prepare for college entrance exams at several tutoring centers throughout San Diego County.
For these kids to be able to, have the resources to do well is something that I think will definitely help a lot. But, there's a lot of systemic things that need to be fixed. Why are these students not getting as much support earlier on?
Students applying to public universities in California can take either the ACT or the SAT. The SAT does not offer supports for English language learners. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
A local nonprofit helping kids get into college got a major contribution from AT&T today. The company donated $500,000 to Reality Changers. The nonprofit founder, Christopher Yanoff, says it will help them take more low-income, low-performing students and turn them into first-generation college graduates.
Well, it's the fastest way to change a low-income neighborhood. Here and where we're located, less than 3% of adults have college diplomas. And so we're trying to change that reality, one student, one community, one school at a time.
Yanov says 900 students and 50 schools in San Diego are part of Reality Changers, with 120 from Hoover High School, where today's ceremony took place. Yanov says AT&T's donation is the largest in the nonprofit's 15-year history.
California wonders what will happen to immigrants, healthcare, and the environment under President Trump. And we continue our look at the Plaza de Panama project for Balboa Park. It's back and ready to go. That and more on the Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
The latest aerial survey by the U.S. Forest Service shows the ongoing drought in California has killed more than 100 million trees. 36 million of those trees have died since May. Officials say the die-offs increase the risk of catastrophic wildfires and other threats to humans, but some environmentalists say it's all part of the natural forest life cycle. California has endured 5 years of drought, leaving trees thirsty and prone to infestation by bark beetles. New research from the Nature Conservancy finds that urban trees can help save millions of lives worldwide. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The report looked at the impact that trees have in the urban environment in some of the world's largest cities. Conservancy scientist Rob McDonald says trees can help reduce the impact of two major causes of health problems in cities: particulate pollution and heat. He says strategically placed trees can absorb polluting particles and provide shade, which keeps concrete from soaking up heat from the sun. Both threaten the lives of millions of people each year.
The average reduction in temperature is between 2 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, and the average reduction in particulate matter is up to a quarter of it is reduced. So some real benefits provided to folks in cities that I think maybe people forget about.
McDonald says that trees will not solve all of the environmental challenges in cities, but he says they are part of the solution. The Conservancy suggests making a significant investment in tree planting to reduce health risks of pollution and heat for millions of people. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Enjoy the sunshine while you can this weekend here in San Diego, because rain is expected on Monday. Regina Miller has tonight's forecast.
Well, it looks like we have a pretty quiet weekend on tap, and right now we have mainly dry conditions. Not much going on. Up to the north, you'll see some showers, and eventually by the late weekend and into Monday, that's when we're going to see some showers moving into the area. In the metro areas tonight, 54 degrees with clear skies on tap. And as we take a look at some of the temperatures here across the area, in Borrego Springs will be at 39, Mount Laguna 37 degrees, Ramona 34 degrees, and in San Diego 54 degrees. Now that rain is going to start to come in Northern California. San Francisco is going to be picking up some rain on Saturday. Los Angeles keeping sunshine. However, we will see the rain starting to come southward for Sunday, especially Sunday into Monday. So expect some drought relief is on the way, and also we could see maybe some travel delays as a result of that. So on Sunday night into Monday here, we're going to see some of that rain moving along the coastline. So we start off with some sunshine on Saturday, a nice day with partly sunny skies on Sunday at 70. Then we do have a couple of showers around on Monday. As that leaves, we have some sunshine on Tuesday, returning with temperatures in the upper 60s. Then we rebound into the 70s. Inland areas, 79 degrees, your high temperature for Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're at 76 degrees, partly sunny. Maybe a few more clouds starting to come in. Monday, Sunday night into Monday, we're going to see a couple of showers coming in. Temperatures will be cooler as well with those clouds and a temperature of 64 degrees. But then as we go into Tuesday, mostly sunny and nice, partly sunny and a little warmer on Wednesday with a temperature of 77 degrees. In the mountain locations, we have plenty of sunshine for your Saturday, a high temperature of 62 degrees. It's going to get progressively cooler here to start the week. So Sunday, we drop to 58 degrees with a mixture of clouds and sun, temperatures falling into the upper 30s at night. Monday, mostly cloudy skies, 46 degrees, so cooler for your Monday. Then on Tuesday, we have mostly sunny skies. It'll be cool with a high temperature of 51, 54, and partly sunny. Then on Wednesday. In the desert locations, we're in the upper 70s for Saturday and Sunday, a little more in the way of clouds starting to filter in for Sunday. Monday, partly sunny skies with a temperature of 70, so we'll notice a cool down there. 75 with some sunshine and pleasant for Tuesday, and partly sunny and nice for Wednesday with a high temperature of 75 degrees. I'm Regina Miller, KPBS News.
The technology used to create virtual worlds and environments has advanced rapidly. Today, engineers at Serious Simulations in Orlando, Florida, are using virtual experience to assist in real-world training. From soldiers to surgeons, virtual simulations are becoming a common teaching tool. Here's a story from SciTech Now.
What I'm doing right now is I am painting our training space. This is so the cameras can calibrate each other and know what they're looking at, know the space that they're going to be tracking. We call this our tracking volume.
Serious Simulations is taking virtual reality training to the next level.
One of our guiding principles is to make our simulators as realistic as possible, and that realism requires them to have complete freedom of movement without wires, without artificial backpack computers, and that requires a very accurate tracking system.
There are 8 cameras mounted on 4 towers, and those are all routed to the computer, and the computer does software processing on the camera images in real time.
That tracks the human body, the positions of all the arms, hands, fingers, head, etc., and translates that in real time onto an avatar in the virtual world.
The company develops simulated training exercises for people doing dangerous jobs, including soldiers and first responders.
So the trainee sees himself, by wearing a head-mounted display, as the avatar in the 3D virtual world. And as he moves in the physical space, he sees that avatar move identically in the virtual world.
Where the touch, the feedback, even the smells is possible to add into the full immersion experience.
Therefore, he becomes immersed in that environment. It becomes natural feeling to be in that environment, and we achieve what we call a suspension of disbelief.
When they're in something real in their mind, you can often stress them out a bit. Positive stress is always good for higher levels of concentration and better training outcomes.
Chris's military experience proved invaluable in his new role with Serious Simulations.
I spent several years in the Army as an officer, and one of my final assignments was managing the creation of a video game which came to be known to the public as America's Army. We wanted to connect with young people through this fairly new venue of video games at the time and create a story about the Army, but by the Army.
Upon returning to civilian life, it was a natural transition to combine the latest technology in video games and military training.
But we took this attack of very high realism, unencumbered movement, 100% real equipment in the simulator, no wires. So those were kind of tall orders for us in the first 2 years.
Chris and his team received their first patent for a technology they call zero frame latency.
We did that so that we didn't add any more additional latency penalty, latency being the lag time that's involved between generating an image and its movement and having it displayed to the individual.
So this clear box is a demonstration of a head-mounted display in a box to make it absolutely visible of what's going on. So inside every HMD, or head-mounted display, there is a display screen, one or more of those, a battery, some electronics, and because this one is wireless, we also have a wireless receiver inside of this box.
And the beauty of this system is that all the electronics and tracking systems are actually in the visor. So as soon as he's finished, we can actually just remove the visor and attach it to the next person, So it's a very, very high throughput system.
All of these are central to making our technology work, creating the only wireless package for very wide field of view, high resolution displays out there.
The system also allows trainees to use their personal gear, adding another level of realism.
We have a saying here that if it's real, then it's right. And weapons for both police and for military are quite individualized now. In order to allow the soldiers to come into our simulator and train as close to reality as possible, we wanted them to come with their real weapon, not a fake toy weapon or a simulated weapon. We also allow the trainees to wear 100% of their real combat gear with some overlays for the simulation. As opposed to this.
Chris knows the value of real-world experience firsthand and employs individuals who are on the same page.
I like employing veterans just because we have a common background, common experience, and I like to give back a bit by helping their transitions into civilian life. There's lots of opportunities, lots of careers within the military that translate very well into civilian sector jobs. And resetting your mind a bit and resetting your vocabulary and resetting your expectations as you exit the military can make it quite successful.
You can see more stories like that one on SciTech Now, Sunday evenings at 5:30 right here on KPBS. The lights are on, but nobody's home. It's part of a public arts project in upstate New York.
When the sun goes down, abandoned homes in upstate New York begin to glow. Every night, the lights fade in and out to illuminate the problem of empty buildings in the cities of Albany, Schenectady, and Troy. Artist Adam Frelin thought up the Breathing Lights project with architect Barbara Nelson and won a $1 million public arts grant.
What also is exciting is when people want to just say what their first reaction was. There's a lot of believing that the building was getting ready to explode, or there was some power surge, or it was haunted.
The ghostly effect comes from thousands of light-emitting diodes placed in more than 150 vacant buildings. Jerry Ford has helped project organizers in his Troy neighborhood. He hopes the lights help others see the potential for these empty homes.
You look at it, and most people will see an abandoned building, but this is abandoned families. This is abandoned community. This is where society starts to really see a breakdown.
The breathing effect lasts for 4 hours each night. It alludes to the life of the crumbling buildings and to the people no longer there. Many neighbors say the lights are a welcome addition and keep squatters away. Others wonder if the money could be better spent elsewhere.
They need to put money into the houses to get them fixed. So you got these people in here sleeping, them not sleeping on the streets, and this, they're making it look pretty.
Organizers say the money came from an arts grant, and note $1 million could only rescue 4 houses. This project includes home buying workshops and an art show at the Schenectady Boys and Girls Club. They hope to spark a more permanent solution once these lights go out for good at the end of the month. Michael Hill, Associated Press.
Thanksgiving is next week, and health officials have one message: properly prepare your turkey. Meat and chicken products cause 48 million illnesses yearly from mishandling. Officials say children and the elderly are at highest risks.
Is that we've actually kind of changed our mind about something. We used to say wash your poultry really well. Well, a number of studies have shown that when in the process of pouring water onto your poultry, you can actually splash those bacteria around. So we don't actually recommend that anymore.
There you go.
Experts say to avoid getting sick, be sure to wash your hands and cooking utensils and thoroughly cook your food.
Do you have any kind of an oven thermometer or anything?
For 35 years, experts at Butterball in Illinois have been taking turkey-related questions 24 hours a day around Thanksgiving. This year, they're adding texting as a way to reach them. The Butterball Turkey Talk Line started in 1981 with 6 people working the phones and answering 11,000 questions. The number of experts and calls has grown since then. What size bird do I need and how long to thaw it? Those are easy questions for experts, but sometimes the answers are harder.
Calls every year where someone's cooking their first turkey because sadly they'd never had to have that role before, but now someone has passed away, like their mother, their wife.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.